And welcome to my lecture called The Introduction to GitHub, presented by me, Mthombothi. So the goals of this lecture are to understand why we use version control and understand GitHub basic commands. And lastly, you guys need to be able to use GitHub for your project in the coming week. So we will start by defining what is version control. So version control is an important part of software configuration management, right? So it's literally just talking about the act of numbering the changes that you've made in a computer program. So it's more like keeping track of the changes that you have made, either by using letters to represent them, APC, or using numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so the other people will have access to what you have just done. So Wikipedia refers to version control as the management of changes to documents, computer programs, large websites, and other collections of information. So that's basically what version control is. Then in the same sense, what is Git? So Git is a distributed version control system for tracking changes in source code during software development, right? So it is designed for coordinating work among programmers, but it can be used to track changes in any set of files. So what then are the benefits of using Git? So Git allows you to roll back. So that means it gives you access to previous versions, but then it keeps your directory needs. So for example, if you've lived way back then, you know that whenever we're saving Word documents, you will have like Word document 1, Word document 2, and so on. So with Git, you have that, but it's kept in the same file. Therefore, it's a bit neat. You don't have to have different files keeping track of the same thing. And then in that sense, it's easy for you to now compare versions because it's one document and it's showing you the changes that you've made. So you don't have to open 5 documents at a time to try and figure out what you've changed, but you just open that one file. And then in that case, you are able to compare versions. And then it also leads to accountability because you can easily see who did what and when, right? And the other thing is that you have branching. So the good thing about branching is that the different members of the group can create different branches, and then they can work on those branches. Then only when they are ready, they will push their work to the master branch so that you guys don't have duplication during the development. Then lastly, you have comprehensibility, which means to document changes with helpful comments. Okay. And then we are now moving to, I'm going to show you an example of how the distributed version control system works, right? So in this case, we have person 1, which is Elisha. So each person is working in their own copy, like the one that's in your desktop. And then from here, they will push, or they will then move their work to the local repo, and then they will then move their work to the repository, which is the server. So number 1, you have Elisha. So Elisha has a copy on his laptop. So Elisha does some work on his copy, then he decides, I need to actually move this thing to the to save the work that I've done. Then he saves the work, and then he git add the work, and then he commits the work. Then in that case, the work is now in the local disk. So Elisha now needs to take the work to the server so that the other people will have access to it. So in that case, Elisha will git push, and then the work will then be moved to the server. All right. So then in this case, we have person 2. So Joseph comes in, and then he wants to also work on the same project that he's working on with Elisha. So in this case, Joseph will start by pulling the work so that he gets updated versions of the work. So whatever copy he has, obviously doesn't yet have Elisha's changes, but after pulling, he will have the changes that Elisha was working on last night. So Joseph will also get some work done, and he will also save the copy when he is done. Then he will do the same thing. So he will add, and then he will commit, then he will push it to the local repo so that Elisha and the other group members will have access to the work that he did as well. So then the last person in this group is Lorette. So Lorette also comes in and says, oh, I also need to work. So because he doesn't know how much work has been done before now, she also needs to come and pull. So when she pulls, then the local repo will be updated. Then Lorette will also do some work on her copy in the desktop on the updated version. Then she will add, and then she will commit, and then she will push. So as you can see, all of them, they have different working copies and local disks, but the server is the same. So by the time they all push, it means they are ready for the other people to see the work that they have done. And then when they pull, they are updating the local work they have so that they get the most recent version of the work. So this is what we talk about. It's easy for them to compare the previous version, because if we are all editing the introduction document, we are all editing the introduction document. But if you want, you can check who did what and when. Then you can see the changes that you've made. Hence, it's always important before you start on a project, always pull, because you don't know who did what whilst you were offline. Then when you are done, push your work so that the other people will have access to the work that you did, and they'll be able to build on it. So we have, you could use the command line, or you could use GitHub Desktop or Git Kraken to actually work on Git. But we prefer using Git Bash or the terminal, because most of the faculty members are familiar with Git Bash and the terminal. So will be more useful, like will be able to help you more if you are using Git Bash or terminal. So we recommend that you use Git Bash or terminal. But on your own time, if you prefer, you can then learn GitHub Desktop and Git Kraken. So you have the command pwd, which then prints your current working directory, and then you have cd, which will change your directory. Then you have mkdir, which makes your directory. So pwd just tells you where you are. Are you in the desktop? Are you in the documents? Or are you in another folder? Then cd, change directory, just lets you move from folder to folder. So if maybe you are in the desktop and then you want to move to folder 1 and all the way to folder 2, use cd. Then mkdir is similar to new folder. So when you are using your, you can just go there and create new folder. That's what mkdir actually does. So we are moving on to the first exercise now. So whenever we have an exercise, I'm going to move to my Git Bash, and then we are actually going to do the exercise together. So I hope that makes it easy for you guys to follow when you have to do these exercises yourself, as a way to get familiar with Git. So this one is saying that you need to open your terminal or Git Bash. In my case, it's Git Bash. Then you need to figure out where you are using pwd. And then you need to navigate to the directory where you will store your MMED files. And then once you decide whether you're going to use desktop or documents or whatever, then you can create the new folder, which is MMED Git, which is where we're going to download the MMED materials into. Then you need to then move into that folder. So like I said, I'm going to be moving between my PowerPoint and my Git Bash. So this is my Git Bash, right? So the first thing we need to do, this is my Git Bash. So the first thing we need to do is pwd. Then we see where we are. So I'm on private, but I want to store my MMED work on my desktop. So then I cd what? Desktop, sorry, this is capital D. And then after I've cd on the way on desktop where I want to store my MMED files, this is when they're saying now I make the directory, which we're going to call MMED Git. Oh, okay. So this is from the, I forgot to delete the file when I was practicing. So let me quickly just do that, because I want to be able for us to redo this whole thing together. Okay. Okay, so I will go back here, and then we'll do this again. So we'll say mkdir MMED Git. So now we've created this folder, and then the next step was to actually now change into this new folder. So now we do cd MMED Git, and then we are inside this folder. So that is the end of exercise 1. So we move on now. So the next one is talking about Git Clone. So Git Clone is just you cloning the repo from the server into your local machine, so that when you're working on the local repo that is in your machine. The changes that you're making in your machine, then you push them into the server so people have access to them. Again, we said we use cd to change directory, and then cd ... is to change directory one up, which takes us then to exercise 2. So the exercise 2 is saying you need to clone the repository to an appropriate location on your local machine. And in this case, we've already created MMED Git. So we're going to clone this repo into MMED Git. And then the next one is saying then you need to change directory into CD sandbox, sorry. Okay. Then we go back to our Git Bash, and then we are saying we are doing Git Clone. So this is the website. So to make things easy, to avoid mistakes, you can just copy this, but I'm going to type it out. So it's github.com, ICI3D/sandbox.git. I almost forgot that. So now it's cloning, right? So now I will have this sandbox repo in my local machine. Then they said after cloning, you need to then move from Gitbox to actually the sandbox. So I do cd, and now as you can see, I am in the sandbox, and this is the master branch. Okay, so we are now done with task 2, and then we're moving on to the slides. So we are now talking about Git Pool. So Git Pool, like I've already said, it just pulls any changes done after your last pull. So if someone else did something from the last time you were pulling, then you're just getting the recent changes. So the Git status, it's the one that will tell you about the modified files in your system. So it will tell you which files need to be saved, what was added, what was deleted, and what do you need to save or commit. Then Git add is you now adding your file, and then you now staging the changes that you have made. Then you commit the file, then you which just means that you are committing the staged files into your local repo, right? So you don't lose the changes that you have made. So adding is just keeping tracks of the files or the changes you've done to the files, and then committing, it's just adding the modified files. So then that takes us to exercise 3. So exercise 3 says that check the status of your repo, Git status, open the participants 2021.md with Notepad, then you edit the file. Then you will check the status, and then you will add your name.md, then you will commit the files. So again, let's move back to Git Bash. And then, so they are now saying we need to check the status. So we're saying Git status. And then it's saying you have nothing to commit, right? Your working tree is clean. So that is expected because so far we just cloned this and we haven't done anything to it. So obviously our branch is clean. Okay. So then they said open participants.2021.md. So this is what happens when you open this. So they said I need to edit this, right? I need to edit this. Right? Then I need to save this as your name.md, and as you know, my name is Zinhle. So this will be saved as Zinhle.md. Right? So you are sending it where on Git under sandbox. So make sure that you are in the right directory when you save. If not, you need to change and navigate to the directory where you have your sandbox. So we save this, and we close. Okay, so if you are not yet comfortable using Notepad to open it, you can just come here, come to your files, go to desktop, and then go to desktop, because mine is on desktop. Then you go to MMED Git, then you go to sandbox, then you go to participants 2021 and you open it, and then you edit, and then you save it the same way I saved it. Make sure it's in the same place, and then you can continue with the steps, right? So I've done that, then I've saved my Zinhle.md. Then they're saying you need to check the status again, right? So now we need to see that actually a new file was added. So if you check the status, it's telling you that you have a new file untracked called zinhle.empty. So you need to add this to track it. So what do? I say git add, and my file name is zinhle.empty. I've added that, enter, and then I need to what? I need to commit, right? And we do git commit -m, then you write the message. So in this case, the message is zinhle.md. Actually, I wanted to say added zinhle.md. That is me committing now. So my work is now committed, and that's the last part of exercise 4. So before we continue, we go back to the lecture and see what's next. Okay. So we have done exercise 3. Now we are moving on. So again, we said you need to do Git Pool because you need to pull recently modified files from the remote repo to the one on my machine. So I need to pull whatever is online to my machine. And then after that, we said we push, then that's just us pushing the files to the remote repo, which is pushing the files to the online server. So that takes us to exercise 4. So exercise 4 is saying pull files from your remote repo to the local repo, and then after that, you push the modified files to the repo. Okay, then we find our way back to Git Bash. So now we need to do what? We need to Git pull. So the reason we are pulling before we are pushing, because by the time you guys watch this, so you won't be the only one working on this sandbox. So maybe by the time you want to push, someone else would have added something. So you need to Git pull to make sure that this is the most recent version of the repo, right? So in my case, it's already up to date. So with you, it's possible that maybe 5 of you are watching and then maybe you are like behind 3 of them. So by the time you pull, it might show you like new things, maybe other people who've just added their names.empty files. So after this, I can push now because I know that my repo is up to date. What do? I do Git push, and then it's supposed to tell me if it worked. Yes, you see, so everything is fine now, 100%, blah, blah, blah. So all the changes that I have made have now been pushed to the server. So by the time you guys see this and then you do Git pull or you clone this, you will have this zinhle.empty file because it's already in the server, and whatever else files that people would have made by the time you start working on this. So this is the end of our exercises for now. It was just to give you a brief idea of how Git works. And as you guys know, on Monday, we will have the session where you guys will get to ask questions. So if you have problems while watching the video, you can easily chat to us on Teams and let us know what problems you're experiencing, or you can wait until the Git session on Monday to ask your questions or your consent or voice your consent. Okay. So this takes us back. So you saw that you guys started by cloning. So this was you cloning the repo, which is the online server, to the local disk, which is your laptop. Then again, I said, whenever you start, make sure that you pull so that you can update your local copy. Then when you are done working on the local copy, make sure that you add and then you commit so that you'll be able to push, so that whoever is working has access to your repo will get the most recent version. You only clone the first time. So the first time you are copying the folder from online to your laptop, that's the only time you clone. After that, you only repeating the steps: pull, update, add, commit, push, pull, add, commit, push. Those are the next steps that you will be doing. Then you can check your status just to see what you have done. Then we have what we call a conflict resolution. So this will happen mostly when you guys are working on the same document. So let's say you guys are working on your project and then you have the project document now. So you have 2 people working on the introduction, then you have another person working, other people working on the discussion or something like that. So if the 2 people working on the introduction come and make the changes more like on the same document, and then they don't, maybe the other person tries to push without updating their local server, then you get what we call a conflict. So in this case, it's telling you that, you see, you have auto measure, this document has an error, right? So the automatic measure failed because the document I was trying to push is no longer the most recent. There's now an updated version. So there was a conflict there when I tried to push. So when you do, sometimes conflict resolution can be easy. So this is the document. So this is the when you open the folder, this is what it's showing you, right? So you can see here that this is the problem. So this is what I was trying to push. But then whilst I was working on my things, it turns out Lorette also came and updated this document. So by the time I pushed, it didn't work out because this this document now had 2 changes. So the version I had now was no longer the most recent version. In this case, you can decide, do you want to keep only your part or Laurette's part or both parts? So if I decide now, actually, I want to keep my part and Laurette's part, then you can just delete you can delete the things that I cycled red. So you can just delete this, delete that, and then you can just do git add and then git push, git commit, and then you git push. And then the most recent document will have both changes in it. So usually with conflict resolutions, you have to do a pool where you have to fetch and merge, and then fetch always works because it gets the information. So merge will usually work, but if it doesn't work, you can try and have a conflict, then you should try and resolve it, right? So this will, like I said, will mostly happen when you guys are using editing the same document, then you try and push before getting the most recent. So you should generally try and pull and make sure that the measure is okay before you push, right? So after you've resolved the conflict resolution, what are you going to do? You're going to git add again, then you're going to git commit, then you will try and pull again before you push to make sure that if there's someone else who's done something, it doesn't lead you to a conflict. So always remember that whenever you are ready to start working, whenever you just remember, oh, I need to go back and work on my project and it's been a while since I touched it, even if it's been 30 minutes because this is group work, always pull, always git pull, and then start working on your files. And then again, each time you are ready to add content to the master branch, make sure that you add and then you commit the changes that are ready for inclusion, right? So whatever changes you've made, you need to git add and then you need to git commit them. So write your message, make it clear to your people so that if people are looking, they can easily see what you're working on. And then after that, you git add, then you git pull. Then the next step, you git add and commit, sorry. Then the next step is for you to pull. So that in case there's a newer version, you need to have it on your system. Then from then on, if there are conflicts, you need to make sure that you resolve those conflicts before you can push. Then after that, you can add and commit the new changes. Then you can push the changes to the origin master. So in conclusion, before you work on your group project, please always pull and make sure you have the most recent version. Before you push, after adding and committing, before you push, make sure again that you pull to make sure you have the most recent version. And if anything happens, always make sure that you sort out any conflict resolution before you push. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, if you have any more questions, we will have the session on Git, the live session on Git, where you guys will get to ask your questions. And yeah, so all the best.